I want to have like a couple hundred kids, you know? Like maybe thousands. Depends. I mean, it really depends. Because I don't want like dumb bitches having like they don't have to be smart, but they can't be, they gotta be decent. You know what I mean? They have to have some sense in their heads. I don't want to be the mother of one of my children. My IQ is 160. Of course, the only way I was able to learn this was through QAnon, because until August of 2019, me and Ella were, what, half the reason for QAnon? Half the reason for all that? Almost all of the reason, right? Because as soon as we got married, they shut down. They shut down 8chan. As soon as she got back, we had to get married in Utah because she's young looking anyway. But anyway, yeah. IQ 160. One of the strongest, fastest guys when I'm in shape. Before I got hurt. There's a ghost here chatting with us. You know? I mean, I've talked this over with a lot of people, like scientists, people in government know this. I mean, I'm going to be the king of England, right? So, I have no reason to lie. There's 600 rooms in one of those castles. Buckminster, is it? I can't remember. I don't care. Do I care? Not enough to remember the name. But yeah. And I'm not, I don't know. I don't want to feel used like Anne Boleyn used Henry VIII, and then Henry VIII had to friggin' chop her head off because of the stupid rules of the church. That was a series of bad times. That was bad. That was not good. Anyone wonders why Henry VIII got so fat and drank so much? Probably because he had to cut the head off this woman that married him but didn't even like him, and then he couldn't marry her and had to cut her head off. It was terrible. Plus, she wasn't faithful. It was not good. But yeah, people like to be envious of people in power, They just don't have to take any responsibility for anything, And all that energy of, lack of appreciation, lack of gratitude, lack of caring, all of that. They direct it at the, kings, rulers, prime ministers, and presidents, and elected officials who either, they keep things going. You can only hate on the politicians so much. And then if you're still hating on them, it's like that energy, use it to improve yourself, I was just talking with my minister, and she was like, well, if you had that many children, you couldn't be so attentive to each one of them. And I'm like, I'll argue anything, basically, it seems. And I was like, well, it boiled down to what about guys in the military who were deployed for a year, you know? And plus, if I have all these friggin', properties, why wouldn't I want my women and their children to live there? Like, this is normal. This was normal for royal, when there's new royal bloodlines being begun. This is normal. Like, you look back at world leaders or kings and Kublai's and whatever. Like King Tut, too, maybe. Might have been Akhenaten. But a lot of people have had a lot of children in history. And if I haven't been some of those people in past lives, then nothing about this world and this life makes any sense at all. So, but it is important to me that, it's the father's job, it's the dad's job to provide the spiritual underpinnings, the ethics, morals, work ethic. Nobody knows how hard I work. And if you do know how hard I work, then you're no ordinary average person. Because most of what I do seems to be secret. I guess this idea is pretty important, pretty appealing. I mean, come on, IQ 160. I'm not bad looking. I'm musically talented, athletically talented. A little broken down physically at the moment. I like starting my day watching videos of people practicing, exercising to dunk a basketball. Because, at first because they work hard and that's why they're able to do it. And it's got nothing to do with, that movie White Guys Can't Jump. That was complete BS. I mean, people don't understand how hard. People who can dunk and do all that stuff, like, they do a lot of work behind closed doors. Whether they probably don't have much of a party life. Their life is when they get out there and they're dunking in contests. They want to make it look easy, they make it look easy. But the reason they can do what they do is because they put in the work. And yeah, of course, some people are more gifted physically than others. There were only like 3 days in my life when I was around 18 that I could dunk really well. And those are the only days I dunked at all on like 10 feet. It was just some really good days. But if I had worked at it, I could have been more consistent with it. And we did have 4 other guys on the team who could dunk. Anyway, dunking is important to me. Not because... Well, why then? Instead of not why. I like team sports because of team playing, team players, teamwork, people working together to bring out the best in each other. That's a team. But the individual effort, the individual greatness, it just doesn't arise out of nowhere. People arrive, when they arrive. They say, like, he arrived on the scene. Before he arrived on the scene, he existed too. So if he arrived and was phenomenal, he worked his ass off before he walked onto the scene. When I was at the gym yesterday, I saw that in New Hampshire, of course, they won't do any public service announcements because they don't care if you die. Your leaders are not representing you. They're representing money. Just remember this. Until you get a leader like me, they ain't representing you. They don't care if you die. They can throw money at stuff because that's what they do, right? Oh, we're going to stop the drug crisis by throwing money at it. It's like, no, you do it by killing the criminals, you fucking cowards. You understand now? You fucking cowards? Yeah, you do. You know you're fucking cowards. Or it's always the same story. Like, the number one cause of death in New Hampshire is heart disease. But do they put up does the Department of Health and Human Services put up public... I know people should know that they need to exercise. But you know what? The food pyramid changed 90 times since we were kids. If you probably don't even know what the food pyramid is, do you? Well, look it up, or don't. The health suggestions change so often that they're just confusing people. Like, you have experts doing research and publishing their findings. They contradict other findings. It's all bullshit. Like, the basic truths are like... You want to know why people don't exercise, why they don't care? It's because you've made it so complicated. You want to know why people don't try harder in school? It's because you've made it so stupid. You let Bill Gates and these scumbags make Common Core. You're the reason why. You let it happen. You politicians, for money, you sold out your people. You let your nations be invaded. You're criminals. You're guilty. Your sentence should probably be death. Now, these are truths, right? When you speak the truth, it's like, damn, that's hardcore. It's like, maybe it's hardcore. Maybe everyone should already know this. My minister and I were talking briefly about a property that has some paranormal activity. And I guess that's what I kind of represent to a lot of the world. It's paranormal activity. Para means what? Who knows? Paramedics, paraprofessionals. I don't know what the fuck a para is. I forgot. With? I can't remember. But the paranormal probably means separate, but with. It's like separate from normal, but it's with normal too, It's like confusing. It is and it isn't. It's with the normal, but it's separate from normal. but it's connected to normal because it's always been there. We've just never quite been able to figure it out. But what if we could? You know, what if I could figure out the paranormal and make it totally interactive? I don't mean make, I mean assuming paranormal wants to interact. I'm assuming people want to also want to interact with the paranormal. It's a little bit terrible. You're right. There's no nice way to talk about it. Is there? A love story. God, I got love stories. I got so many fucking love stories. Paranormal romance. I got your paranormal romance. But I need my paranormal wives to get on board with helping me find a at least seemingly passably human wife or a human girlfriend for a while, because the loneliness is doing a real number on me. And I know people kind of like melodramas and suffering is beautiful, stuff like that. I personally don't agree. I don't think it's beautiful. I think it's sad. So I'm asking my wives, God, if that's how many wives I have that I saw last week, so many. So maybe some of them live around here, or can walk in, walk in. So difficult. The paranormal really got in my life before I was born. I was paranormal before I was born. It's probably a more accurate way of putting it. Supernatural, paranormal, spiritual, metaphysical. You're welcome to try to define those words in ways that they're not describing mostly the same things, the same phenomenon, experiences. I just don't think it's possible. Not in a way that makes a functional difference. I could be wrong. I really miss my wife too. I got mad at her, my spiritual wife. I mean, it was like, I wrote what it was like. It was like having elephantitis and being given a blowjob 12 hours a day, but you can't come. And having people sitting on you. It was, she's been giving me space and I'm suffering, so. Some people you just can't win with, huh?